Time.
Oh, I'll do it. Yeah, you're right.
Well,
it's a little light for the video.
Okay.
That crash I was in where I lost my crew. That was
tell us about that. This was in the United States, right?
yeah, but we was fixing to leave for the West Coast to go to Saipan. That was the 73rd Bomb Wing with the 498th Bomb Group.
That was the unit you were with at that time.
Yeah.
And what happened?
Well, you see, when we finished your training, you went to staging area. We went to staging area at Kearney, Nebraska. All the crews got brand new airplanes, got new flying equipment, a new parachute, you know, everything you needed. And
when was this, Bill, about, would you say?
Well, that crash was on September the 28th, 1944.
44.
Yeah.
So, what was the name of your plane?
Well, we didn't have a name here in the States.
Right.
But when we got overseas to the 504th, old airplanes, I'll show you the ones.
We're getting away from the crash here now. That was a B-29. Was it a new one?
Yeah, brand new. Yeah. That's the reason. All the crews got new 29s, and they didn't want to fly over, you know, to Hawaii and all of that water on a brand new airplane. So they wanted to work the boat, see what you know how it do, and work the boats out. And at that time, they had a lot of bugs in them.
Yeah, I know. I heard that.
Yeah.
And you were flying on a training mission, were you, when this happened?
Yeah. What really happened? We flew into Salina, Kansas, and they was going to fly a wing mission to Cuba and back, just to put it, you know, check out the airplane, and you know. And so the weather was closed in between Kansas and Cuba, and my squadron commander, he was a Lieutenant Colonel Saunders was his name, and I don't know where we was going, but we was over South Dakota at 21,000 feet, and he told them pilots, close it in, close it in. That means tighten that formation up, and you could feel them downdrafts and updrafts, you know. And I didn't even have a parachute on. I mean, I just, you know, you trusted so long, you didn't nothing happen. But the co-pilot, he called back over the interphone and said, "You boys, if you hadn't got your parachute on, said you better put it on. Said this hair is rough up here, and say what they wanting to tighten this formation up."
You remember his name?
Yeah, yeah.
What was his name?
His name was Roland Hand.
H-A-N-D?
Yeah, he was from Minnesota.
Was he a lieutenant or a captain or? Yeah,
he was not they called the pilot, what we'd call the co-pilot. He was the airplane commander, and the co-pilot was the pilot. See, that's the way they.
That's how they were. But he actually had the running of the plane. The guy that called over the intercom signature, he was actually in charge of flying the plane. Not
our plane, but the whole formation.
Oh, the whole formation, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But the co-pilot who told you was this guy Hand.
Yeah.
Get your, yeah.
Yeah.
He did you a favor, didn't he?
He saved my life. I didn't have that thing on 2 minutes till I had to use it.
Wow. What happened?
Well, you know, when you're in a formation, you hear the plane here, and then you got a high diamond back here. That's a diamond formation.
Right.
But this guy, he flies just what we call a high diamond. He wasn't the same altitude, just a little bit higher, you know. But here he was when they told them pilots to close it up. This guy in this high diamond back here, he wasn't high no more, but here he come. See, I was in the left blister gunner,
you were the left blister gunner?
Yeah.
That's one thing we haven't established. Just real quick, what was your job on the plane?
Well, I was a gunner, but I was supposed to be an electrical specialist too.
And you were on the blister gunner. Is that on the side of the plane?
Yeah, there's a blister gunner on each side. And you had 2 blister gunners. You had a top gunner. You had a bombardier. You had a tail gunner.
Right.
Well, didn't they also call that waist gunner?
They did. They did in a B-17.
Right.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
You see, B-17, they had open. You know, they didn't have anything. I had a blister, half of a blister there.
Right.
You know, that I could see, and we had electronic sights in a B-17. See, you couldn't get to your turret. You didn't handle them guns yourself. You worked the electronic gun sight.
Right.
Wow.
In other words, you had a little lever or something, and when you moved it, the gun moved.
Well, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you had a little knob here with that little knob would have little red circles that you're supposed to keep that plane in you know, inside that circle.
You were not in the blister. The gun was in the blister.
No.
You were in the blister too.
Yeah, the gun turret was on the bottom of the fuselage.
Oh, I gotcha. And you're inside the blister directing the gun.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
See, the two blister gunners had control of the two bottom turrets.
I gotcha.
And your fire control gunner, he's up here, he's sitting way above me, you know, and he's got a blister up here on top. And he and the bombardier got control of the top turrets. And that's the way it was. So
what happened? This guy in the back of the diamond came in, or
yeah, he kept coming in close. I would have, if the co-pilot hadn't told me, you know, we're gonna tighten it up. And boy, he tightened it up, and I didn't say nothing because that's what they said he's gonna do. And his number 4 engine cut us half in two.
That would be the left engine?
If you was in the airplane, it'd be the right one.
The right engine outside?
Yeah. Yeah, number 1's over here, and number 2, and then on this side of the fuselage, you got 3 and 4.
And it hit your plane?
His number 4 engine cut us half in two. The tail section fell separate from us.
Oh, you were in the front section? How far back on the plane would you say it was, or don't you remember?
Oh yeah. See, they had a gunnery compartment, and then they had a radar compartment. And well, I can show you when I see a whole airplane. I can show you how far I was.
Well, that's okay. We can look at that later.
This was published at Saipan.
Right. That's where they were stationed.
Yeah, Tinian and Saipan was 3 miles apart.
Where the Tinian's where they took off for the A-bomb, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So okay, now cut you in half, and you were in the front part.
No, I was in the gunnery compartment. And it cut us. Well, he cut us in the radar compartment. So you had the gunner compartment, and then you had the radar compartment, and then you had the bulkhead, and you had a space there between there and the tail gunner that wasn't pressurized. See. So it cut us just inside that bulkhead, and it cut half in two, and the pilot didn't have any control whatsoever of the airplane.
And it just started to fall, and were you pinned in there from the centrifugal force or anything?
No, but the Lord saved my life, because I had to go around. I'm on this side, and I had to come around here and go up through here, because in front of me there is a wall, a steel wall there, and I had to come around. I had to get up and come around here and go out this way. And if I'd have hesitated 5 seconds, I would have never got out, because when it cut us half in two, the front end with the engine was being heavy, and so the nose went down. See, and that made the more incline, you know.
Right.
And so I come around here, and I never hesitated at all. I went up through there, and the right gunner, he could see what was going on, because there was a doorway there. And I saw him go up through there, and that's the way I went. And I got out, and he didn't get out.
What was his name? Do you remember?
He was, his last name was McCarthy. And he was from Ohio.
But you saw the big hole there.
Yeah, right. Yeah. When I come around here and I could see up through there, man, I never hesitated. I don't even remember pulling the ripcord. No, I don't remember. When I come to myself, I didn't even feel the, you know, you got a pretty good jerk when when you pull the ripcord and that.
Yeah.
I never felt that. But
Was it how high? You said you were about 21,000 feet.
21,000 feet.
Not much air up there, is there?
Well, I didn't know it though. I was
I
in
didn't
shock
care.
anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, you had an angel on your shoulder.
That's right. I believe I had two.
Yeah.
Uh,
And you were over. Where were you over at that time?
South Dakota.
South Dakota.
Yeah.
And you floated down.
Yeah.
And where did you land?
Well, we out in the country, and when I got out on the ground, I left that parachute laying right there, and I saw the airplane. It exploded, and I run toward it about 50 or 60 yards, and then it exploded again, and I just. But the tail gunner, they had him up there. There's some old farmers up there. They had him out in the back of a truck. He was dead.
Oh, the tail gunner. What did he do? Did he jump?
Yeah, he didn't have a dog's chance.
No.
He didn't have a chance whatsoever.
Did he have a parachute on, or he just?
Well, but he couldn't get out.
He was still in the plane.
Yeah, yeah. He was sitting back there, and it's tight. In tail gunner section, it's tight back in there, and he didn't have but one way out, and he was cut off too. His half was in, and of course it was
tumbling
every which way, and
the pilot and co-pilot went down with the plane too, probably.
Oh yeah, Lord, yeah. And I had a good pilot. He was a captain.
Remember his name?
Yeah, Billy Wheeler. He was from Utah. I'll show you his picture
Okay.
here.
So did somebody come and get you, or did you walk to a farm, or what'd you do?
Well, like I say, there was about maybe a half a dozen old farmers done gathered up there, and me and this boy right here, he's the other one that got out. His name was Joe LaBerry. He was from Pennsylvania.
How do you spell his name? Joe LaBerry.
LaBerry, I don't know. Your guess is good as mine. But
in other words, the front half came down and hit, and
yeah, exploded and all that. Yeah.
so those guys had a long ride down, didn't they?
Yes, they did. But I thought they'd have been, hit the ground a whole lot sooner than I did. But they hit the ground just a few, half a minute maybe after I did. So, he must have, the pilot must have found some way to control that thing to make it,
But it come down slow.
the front end being heavy, I thought that thing would go down like this and just, but it.
So you walked up toward where it hit, is that it? Is that what you did?
Yeah, but I give up on it after it exploded the second time.
You didn't want to be there, I don't blame you.
And there's like I said, there's about 5 or 6 old farmers around there, and we was both in shock and blood running out of my head. And
Would you hit your head when you went out, or?
I guess that ragged edge of the fuselage where I went out, I must have cut me. And we didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do, and he didn't either. One of those old fellas there, he said, "We need to get these boys to town, let them see the doctor." So he said, "Can you go?" And he said, "No, I got something to do." And how about you? He said, "Can you go?" He said, "No." And finally one of them said, "Well, I can take them, but says I got to stop by a certain place." And so, and about halfway to town, he stopped, and we sat out there in that old car. He was in that house about 10 or 15 minutes,
He finally came back out.
He finally come back out, got in that old. It's about something like an old Chevrolet, old 31, 32 Chevrolet, and we finally got this little old town called Phillips, South Dakota.
Phillips?
Yeah, and. He said, "Where you want to go?" I said, "They got a doctor here?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay." And then he just stopped in front of this plain old house, He said, "There's the doctor's office right there." So we got out, went in, there's an old woman in there. I says, we'd like to see the doctor. Says, son, he's out of town today.
Oh, God. Did you tell her I was just in a plane crash? I mean, did anybody care there was a plane crash?
Yeah, and I, you know, I didn't know what to do, and I finally decided, well, I believe I called back to Kearney, Nebraska. That's where we flew out of. And so I picked up the telephone. I told the operator, I said, I want to put in an emergency call to Kearney, Nebraska Air Base, and I want to talk to, I forget the group commander.
Yeah.
And boy, just like that, he was on the other end of the phone. He already knew two got out, but he didn't know which two.
So he'd been informed of the crash.
Yeah. And he says, well, we'll send the ambulance and after you from Rapid City. They had an Army Air Base at Rapid City, and that was 90 miles away.
Rapid City.
Yeah. So that crash happened about
South Dakota, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That crash happened about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It took about 5 o'clock. The staff car and ambulance drove up out.
What did you do in the meantime? Anybody put any bandages on you, or
No.
offer you a cup of coffee, or
No, there wasn't nobody.
ham sandwich or something?
No.
Jeez.
But anyway, that I forget. I believe that other boy was in the ambulance and I was in the staff car. I can't remember. But anyway, that lieutenant, he come along. He said, Sergeant says, I got a quart of liquor in that car up there. If we can catch it. I said, well, catch that right. And you know, we didn't catch that thing. We pulled into that hospital up there in that base. He went and got that quart of liquor. And he got a glass and he said, Sergeant, just tell me when. He had a glass about that high. I didn't tell him nothing till he filled it all the way. And I swear to you, I drank that big glass of liquor and I never felt it. I never felt it because I was in shock.
Your emotions are running really high.
Yeah.
Do you remember what kind of liquor it was?
No, I didn't know.
So you were a sergeant, Bill?
Yeah.
Sergeant three-striper or
well, I was a buck sergeant then.
Buck
That's a 3 sergeant.
Yeah,
and
right.
I got another stripe after we got overseas. I was staff sergeant.
So what happened after you got to the Rapid City Hospital?
Well, they patched us up. We stayed in the hospital 3 days.
You didn't get tended to until you got there.
No, that's right.
It must have scabbed over or something. You couldn't have been bleeding that whole time. You'd be dead.
Yeah, yeah. But
you kept in the hospital 3 days.
yeah, and the major come in there and he says, Sergeant says, we got a plane going back your way. I said, how about a train? So a train. We went back on train. I don't feel like I can stand one.
Where did you go back to, Bill? You were in Rapid City. You went back to, what was that base you were at?
Kearney, Nebraska.
Kearney, Nebraska. Is that Kearney?
Kearney. Kearney.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and
that's
like
a pretty
I said,
good train ride, wasn't it? A pretty good.
Yeah, and you know what? We had flying suits, and mine just tore all to pieces where I went out of that airplane. And
that's
and
what you wore back?
Huh?
Is that what you wore back?
Yeah. I asked that major, I said, you going to give us some clothes? He said, no. I said, well, write me excuses so the MPs won't get us. I did have that much sense. And so that's what he done. And every time we'd have to change trains, here come them MPs. They couldn't get there fast enough. Their eyes would get about this big. And
well, we got a good one now.
I just hand them that note, and they'd say, oh, I'm sorry.
How long was it before Betty knew that you had been in that accident?
She didn't know about a week later, I know.
About a week later?
Yeah.
So you got back to Kearney, and then you would eventually get reassigned, and
yeah, I talked to the squadron commander, and I said, Colonel, I'd like to stay with the squadron. I
504th?
said, yeah, I said, I went through mechanic school. I can be a ground mechanic. And he sat there and promised me that, and 2 days later they shipped me back to Clovis, New Mexico. And let me tell you something else while I'm there.
Okay, good.
When I got back to Clovis, there was a Captain Pease there, and he had heard about. He knew my pilot got killed, and he knew I was one of them that got out. And he said, "Clary, you been home yet?" I said, "Lord, no." He said, "Let me go here and get you a furlough." Says they're not gonna, you know, not get organized here for a week or two. And said you wouldn't be doing nothing but just waiting in the pool. So he went there and got me 10 days.
God bless him.
Yeah. And I went into Clovis, and what time the next train go? He said 11 o'clock tonight. I said, "Lord, I am waiting on 11 o'clock tonight." So I hit the highway.
Yeah.
You
And
hitchhiked home.
I thumbed all the way from New Mexico into Gaffney.
Hey, Betty,
Sir. Yes, sir.
did you take care of this guy when, can you come in here just a second?